Go for it.
Good evening. Hey, wait a minute. We're going to have Mike do this?
Yeah, this is Mike's show now.
Uh-oh.
Mike took over.
Oh boy, Mike.
Well, you
did it now.
you forgot to send me the script.
No, I'm pretty sure I did.
Did
you don't
you
have
send
the
it
script
to
up?
me? Oh no.
All right. Well, I'll start off here, but as soon as you have the script up, you can take over. Good evening and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard, and we're linked in with the following repeaters. Which repeaters are we following?
Well, I at least have the script for this.
Okay.
Flagship, Watkinsville, Jersey, Columbus, Lula, Toccoa, McDonough, Roan, Noonan, Zebulon, Ball Ground. Are we on Ball Ground?
Yes, that's correct.
Ball Ground, White Oak Mountain, Chattanooga, Fort Mountain, Cades Cove, Ooltewah, Georgetown, and Lookout Mountain, and also our VoIP service, Zello.
Tonight, our RF coverage is over 176.5 billion square yards. These measurements are calculated by questionable math and unreliable sources. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Who's our net control tonight?
We get a whole panel again tonight.
It's a full house.
Even Teddy's here.
We have, what's Teddy's TAC number?
751.1. This is Atlanta 750 WRMR 367. My name is Jeff.
And I am WRWM 344, Blue Ridge 63, and my name is Mike.
And this is WQYR 514, Atlanta 947. My name is Julie.
Who's the other one?
What about the guy on the end?
What about the one on the other screen there?
Yeah, our remote net controller.
This is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751. My name is Kate, here alongside Atlanta 751.1, Teddy.
On the net, you can talk about, oh wait, who am I? I am WQIR 514, Atlanta 946. My name is Justin. On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear about. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in, sign out of the net. Tonight, our topic is programming radios. Is that right?
That's right.
All right. So, but before we get into programming radios, let's see if we can catch up with Kate.
Let's reset, and Kate can take it over.
Okay, once again, this is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751. Kate from high atop Mount Waleski, live in Studio C, with this week's Catch Up with Kate, the latest NGGMRS sauce. GMRS news that we can all relish. The Northeast Bunch will be gathering on Wednesday, January 31st at Roosters in Dahlonega when doors open at 11 a.m. Roosters is just past the end of 400, easy to find with your GPS. Join us for a great time and enjoy the fellowship of other GMRS radio enthusiasts and North Georgia GMRS Network members. Call out Bobby, Atlanta 403, if you have any questions. The Knoxville Bunch will be gathering on Friday, February 3rd at O'Charlie's at noon. O'Charlie's is located at 11036 Parkside Drive in Knoxville, Tennessee. We hope to see many of our Knoxville friends and neighbors there. Call out to Eric, Cades Cove 81, if you have any questions. February 9th, 2024 is the Skywarn training class at 6 p.m. at Memorial Hospital. Pre-registration is required. Email the Skywarn team if you have any questions at skywarn@nggmrs.org. Let me break. The 42nd Dalton Amateur Radio Club Hamfest is always on the fourth Saturday in February. This is a great opportunity to visit many of our favorite radio vendors and to explore the boneyard. What's a boneyard? At a hamfest, a boneyard is where individuals or clubs will display surplus or salvage radio, audio, and electronic parts and equipment for sale. Sometimes you can find a real gem. Sometimes you can find a great bargain. Sometimes you can find that one part you've been searching eBay for. And sometimes you can learn a lot about all things radio and electronics from seasoned operators happy to share their wealth of knowledge. We hope you'll visit the Dalton Hamfest on Saturday, February 24th at 8 a.m. For more information, search for Dalton Amateur Radio Club on Facebook. If you have any questions, suggestions, or spicy announcements for us to catch up on, please send me a note at kate@NGGMRS.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network. This is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751. My name is Kate, and now it's time for Julie's tips. What do you have for us this week, Julie?
Well, thank you,
You wanna
Kate.
break?
We're going to break.
We're gonna break.
Right.
Now we have a red light.
All right. Awesome. I guess it's my turn.
That's
Thank
what the
you,
red light
Kate.
means.
I didn't look at the red light. Anyway, this week, as Justin said earlier, we're going to talk about programming GMRS radios. And there's a lot to cover here, so listen in. Out of the box, GMRS radios can do little more than simplex. No tones are needed for basic simplex use, and they can be powered up and put into play with very little knowledge. Many times, new users find North Georgia GMRS Network because they flip through the channels and hear chatter. As a matter of fact, Tim, McDonough22, tells a similar story when you ask how he found North Georgia GMRS Network. What new users often struggle with is hearing repeater traffic, but when they try to key up, no one responds. Nothing on the box explains how repeaters work and how CT/CSS tones are required. In fact, the issue is confused when a lot of packages label tones as privacy codes. There is no privacy in two-way radio, but the tones are the magic to open the repeater to your traffic, and learning how to program your radio can be its own magic. At the most basic level, many radios can be programmed by using the buttons on the mic or on the front panel. Many Part 95 radios offer this capability and can be programmed on the fly if the need arises. And traveling outside of North Georgia GMRS coverage area is where the need most likely will arise. Our NGGMRS.org webpage offers a programming chart that lists all of our repeaters, their link status, transmit and receive frequencies, and the tone required to open the repeater. North Georgia GMRS repeaters all output the same tone, so you can set your receive tone the same as your transmit tone and limit the audio to only signals that carry that tone. Let me break. Chirp is a popular choice in software for programming radios, and it has a wide range of brand and radio model compatibility. And it seems that list is growing both in new models and expanding in classic Part 90 radios. With the North Georgia GMRS Network website open to the programming chart and Chirp open, it should be quick work to copy data into Chirp. Some radios are not compatible with Chirp, and most radios have their own proprietary software. Every new instance of software comes with its own learning curve, and not all are very intuitive. But if you find that you're stuck, there are lots of folks in this group and on the Facebook page who can help. Part 90 radios are often matched to a specific software programming program. Although a few Part 90 radios can be programmed with chirp, most require a specific software program. Programming cables can also be challenging. Cables are typically inexpensive, but you have to be careful. Many of the Amazon source cables contain counterfeit serial to USB chips and may read or download the radio just fine, but fail to write or upload the changes made to your radio. BlueMax49ers.com is a preferred source for programming cables. They are a seller with a good reputation and a 3-year warranty. So if it isn't a factory-supplied cable, you should use Blue Max 49er cables to ensure you don't buy a cable with a counterfeit chip. These are just a few of the preferred practices of North Georgia GMRS members, and these procedures are how we become the best operators on the nation's largest, most advanced linked repeater network. And remember, if you have any questions or suggestions for new user tips and operating procedures, send me a note at julie@NGGMRS.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network, and this is Atlanta 947 WQIR 514. Julie, and it's back to net control. Good night, everyone.
Well, thank you for that, Julie. Jeff, did you have something?
Well, before Miss Kate ran off for the night, the writer of her script left out a key piece of information that we need her to announce.
We should address that with the writer.
We should address that with the writer. I am going to reset and then turn it back over to Kate to talk about the website.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Neither do I.
So for those of you, excuse me, those of you who do not have Facebook, Miss Kate and her team have launched a brand new website that is live now. So, Kate, why don't you give us a brief overview of what you did and what people may expect a little bit different, like maybe with the login and stuff like that, that they have to create that they didn't have to do before?
Okay. So the updated website is now on a different platform that offers some different features. So people will notice now, if they were to go on there and renew their membership or something that they're going to have to do by next December 31st. When you're first going on there and making a purchase for the first time, you will create an account. And that just provides Gary with the information that he needs to set up your account. Just your email, phone number, name, FCC code, stuff like that. So that's all in the new system because unfortunately, not all that information carries over. I wasn't prepared to talk about this, so I apologize. It has a special section on the homepage that features scrolling YouTube videos, including snippets of Julie's tips. Those are always a fan favorite. So it'll bring you right to our YouTube page. And it has all of your favorites, the, live linked repeater map, and the current roster. Everything is still there. We tried to keep the layout as much the same as we could so as to not cause confusion. But yeah.
Well, that's exciting stuff, Kate. And the little bit of time that I've been able to spend on the new website, it looks fabulous, and it's very intuitive. It's very easy to figure out where things are and navigate around. And so what I gather, the biggest difference from where we were to where we are is that when you go to pay your dues, you need to have a login. So do we just do the login one time and when we go to renew, it'll still be there?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, so we create the login, and that'll just always be there. So we probably want to remember the username and password that we use for
Yes.
that login. Is there a convention that we should use? Should the username be like an FCC call sign maybe, or does it matter?
Well, that's totally up to each and every individual, as everyone is different. Try to go with something that's easy for you to remember. Yeah.
Okay. Well, very good.
Everyone has a different preference there, so it's hard for me to say what everyone should do. But it's supposed to make things easier, and you can go on there and look at previous membership dues and how long you've been along.
Okay.
You know.
Well, thanks, Kate. We're going to break real quick. And a couple of additional announcements that apparently didn't make it to the writer for Catch Up with Kate. First one is due to questionable weather and various other circumstances, Vanguard will not be making the trek to Winter Field Day. And considering how severe the weather may become, I don't think we'll be in Chattanooga for Winter Field Day either. So we'll be doing Winter Field Day activities in some other way. We encourage all of you, if you're going to engage in Winter Field Day activities, to consider the weather and make sure that what you do is done safely. We don't really have a contest. We didn't really have a contest put together for this year. Anyway, we thought about recycling last year's contest, and we thought about creating something new. But in any case, here's the prize that you would have won. But since we're not having a contest, who knows where to land up? Maybe on the floor. So it's kind of disappointing, but we're going to kind of shift our energy, and hopefully we can make a presence at the Dalton Ham Fest instead. The other announcement has just escaped my mind. A flagship. We had plans to return to flagship tomorrow to continue our investigation. We have, since we were there last, we've gotten some drone footage. The drone has flown up and down and back and forth a couple of times in a couple of different ways, and it's just inconclusive. We just don't have enough information to be able to really establish or determine for sure what's wrong. We just know that receive antenna is bad. I'm not sure if the problem is in the antenna or if it's in a feed line, but we definitely have a problem there. So we're operating right now at this moment on that diminished receive antenna at flagship. Perhaps on Sunday, when the weather clears, we have plans to go up there with a duplexer and put the receive side of that repeater on the same antenna as the transmit. That should improve its sensitivity to what it is at this moment, but it probably won't be as good as it was prior to this damage. So that'll get us some time because we're not going to be climbing that tower in this weather. We're not going to put climbers on it until the weather breaks. So hopefully this will be a good solution to get us through until the weather turns and we can safely put climbers on that tower and accurately diagnose what's wrong with the feed line. One more thing. Let me break. Julie had talked just a moment ago in Julie's tips about tones and repeaters, and you had indicated that the repeater puts out the same, all of our repeaters put out the same tone. Do they all put out the same tone, or is it the same tone as the received tone? And the answer to that question is it is the same tone as the received tone, because it just doesn't make sense to have them all on the same tone. So whatever input tone we use for our repeaters, we use the same output tone. So when you program your radio for your transmit tone, you'll use the same audio frequency or tone for your receive. Some folks choose not to put a tone on their receive, and that's a personal choice. Just beware that if you do that, your radio will play everything that it hears on that frequency, including the kids in the neighborhood on their FRS radios, if they're on that channel. So by putting the tones in on the receive, you can kind of block some, but not all, of that traffic out. So did I say that right?
Sounded like you said it pretty well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for answering that question.
You did good, baby.
All right. So I think the next thing we want to do is acknowledge our existing check-ins, and then we'll take some additional check-ins. So, Mike, do you want to take that over?
I think we've gone through all of the existing check-ins we have.
Yeah, let's start that list.
So
because we're just now coming on the live stream.
we will go ahead and take more check-ins.
No, take it from the top because the live stream just started. So
Got it. Okay, so we've got, it looks like 42 check-ins so far. Atlanta 780 is in and out. Atlanta 355 is in and out. Rome 36 in and out. Gainesville 34 in and out. Atlanta 1402 in and out. Then we had BR 549, Uncle Mike, up around Cherry Log, is in with us tonight. Atlanta 44, Jim and Cumming is in tonight. McDonough 22, Tim and Stockbridge, in with us tonight. Cades Cove 80, Eric and Rockwood, is in with us tonight. Then we had Atlanta 12, Jay in Calhoun, as well as Chattanooga 171, Jay in Winchester, in both of them in and out tonight. And Chattanooga 110, Jim and Ringgold, was in with us tonight. Let me break. Next we had Rome 313, Jay in Rome, in and out. Atlanta 42, Andre, in and out. Toccoa 20, Michael, in and out. McDonough 36, Chris in Jackson, is in with us tonight. Next we had CW 33, Tom in Bogart, in and out. Chattanooga 30, Jonathan, in and out. Next I have Gainesville 44, Joe in Cleveland, in and out. Atlanta 256, Chuck in Dawsonville, in with us tonight. Gainesville 162, Larry, in with us tonight. Next we heard Atlanta 551, Shannon in Dawsonville, also in with us tonight. Atlanta 605, Michael in Cumming. Atlanta 637, Dave in Kennesaw. And Atlanta 250, Dana in Dahlonega. They were all in and out tonight. Next I heard Atlanta 403, Bobby at the Vortex is in with us tonight, as well as Atlanta 943, Jim in Marietta, also in with us tonight. Following that, we had a string of in and outs. Atlanta 289, Grady. Atlanta 454, Steve. Atlanta 453, Janine, all in and out. Next was Atlanta 331, Ron. Atlanta 305, James. Atlanta 77, James, all in and out. And then Chattanooga 53, Doug and Hickson, in and out. And Atlanta 933, Dwayne, in and out. Gainesville 76, John in Gainesville, in and out with us tonight. And Atlanta 455, Chris in Alpharetta, in and out tonight. Those are the check-ins that we heard. And so at this time, we'll open it up for some additional check-ins. Should we all repeaters other than flagship?
Sure.
All right. Let's go to any repeater other than flagship. Please call net control.
This is WRQG806, Atlanta 557, Ed in Kennesaw, in and out. Thank you. This is CW2
WRJR 959, Steve and Eileen, Wilkinsville repeater, in and out.
Go ahead and check in WRTS 814, Romeo Tango Sierra 814, 33, Matthew, and on Echolink, not Echolink, excuse me, on Zello tonight, checking in and out.
What was the call? What was the tactic?
This is WRMG 494, Atlanta 292, Derek in Rockmart, checking in, checking out.
Thank you. He came in on the Nooner repeater. Oh. Was he in or out?
This is WRYZ 968, Gainesville 100. Checking in, checking out, Randall and Buford.
Tacoma
This is Whiskey Sierra Alpha Alpha 487. Travis from Columbus, checking in and out.
I didn't get the number. It was Columbus.
Cut out right when
It's not just me.
This is CW43, WRNT 465, Chad from Bowersville, checking in and out.
Okay.
Go ahead and acknowledge that round of check-ins and then
Okay.
open it up to everybody.
All right. Net Control is going to acknowledge the following check-ins that we heard. First, we had Atlanta 557, Ed in Kennesaw, in and out with us tonight. Next was CW2, Steve in Arnoldsville, in and out with us. After that, we had BR64, Melissa in Blue Ridge, in and out tonight. Next was Toccoa 33, Matthew in Pickens, South Carolina. Matthew, I've got you marked as in with us tonight. If that's not right, you can let us know later. After that was Atlanta 292, Derek in Rockmart, in and out. Followed by Gainesville 100, Randall and Buford, in and out. There was a station from Columbus, Travis. I couldn't catch your call sign. So here in just a moment, if you'll call back with that, I'd like to get you in the log. And then the last check-in that we heard was CW43 Chad in Bowersville. I've got you as in and out. So let's pause real quick for Travis to come back with his tactical unit number, and then we'll go to all repeaters. Net Control standing by.
Travis, Columbus 11. Columbus 11,
One
checking
round.
in and out.
In and out. Got it. All right, Travis, I got a better copy on you that time. Columbus 11, Travis, you're going to be in and out. We'll go ahead and open it up at this time to all repeaters, any repeater, anywhere. Please call Net Control now.
This is WRBL 465, Atlanta 49, David in Bugabille, checking in and checking out.
Is WRXT 576, Atlanta 610, David in Marietta, checking in, checking out. I will be monitoring, guys, and may comment later if I'm still sticking around. This is
ATL 32, WRZQ 398,
checking in and out on Zello.
Nice, long, awkward pause for any additional Zello check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
We're still getting occasional bandwidth issues in here.
Oh, this has been, iPad's been useless tonight. Not useless, but pretty close.
The stream went into warning. But we're not on fiber anymore though.
It's copper, but it was 400 up and 300 down, or maybe the other way around.
Should be more than enough.
All right, acknowledge those, and we'll kick things into gear.
All right. Do you think that was a long enough and awkward enough pause?
I think that was quite awkward.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and acknowledge those last handful of check-ins. I heard Atlanta 49 David in Loganville in and out with us tonight, followed by Atlanta 610 David in Marietta in and out, but monitoring with us tonight. And then last but not least, I had Atlanta 32 Reggie checking in from Zello in and out tonight. That concludes the check-ins that we heard. What should we do next?
Typically, we would babble briefly and then go to the top of the roster and talk about whatever the subject is tonight. What are we talking about tonight?
Radio programming is what we're talking about tonight.
Ah.
So, I have a question. Why? Well, first of all, I forgot how to unmute myself.
Turn your mic
You
on.
sounded better the other way.
Why do you keep asking Justin what to do next? This is your show.
Oh, I don't know about that. You keep saying that.
So we're talking about radio programming, and I'm assuming you're going to elaborate on cables and software and those kinds of things?
Yeah, I think we should. There's been a lot of talk on the Facebook page lately, as well as on the air, about programming radios. A lot of questions coming in about how to find programming assistance or support. And so we figured here at the beginning of the year, we've got new members and a lot of people getting new radios for Christmas or the holidays. It's as good a time as any to talk about and at least offer some help on how to go about programming those radios. And there's a number of ways, right? You can, for some of them, you can use a mobile app with a Bluetooth connection. For others, you're plugging in with a cable that came with the radio and using some software. For some of them, there's unique software that you have to use for that radio, and others, there's generic software. So it's a big topic, and we thought we'd open up a group discussion on that tonight.
Sounds good to me.
Well, sometimes we get the question directed, right here to one of us that, I have such and such a radio. How do I program it? Well, when I first came to GMRS, there really weren't that many offerings. You had the BTEC radios. You had a handful of other branded radios, and then there were a lot of Part 90 radios. And so in those days, it was pretty easy to be able to learn how to program various radios and be pretty well covered, have your bases covered. There was always the Motorola radios were a little more challenging because it required a very specific adapter to be able to program, various radios. So they could be a little more challenging. The Kenwood radios were pretty straightforward, and the software was not terribly hard to use. Chirp was just a little bit more intuitive. Let me break. But today there's so many radios on the market. Mike just mentioned the capability of programming a radio using Bluetooth. 5, 6, 7 years ago, that wasn't even a consideration. There are just a plethora of radios on the market today. So if you reach out to me to ask me how to program a particular radio, I'm going to shrug my shoulders. And I don't know. I mean,
we may not even heard of it yet.
and that could very well be, and it's kind of gotten to the point now where when I get hold of a new radio and it needs to be programmed, I just hand it to Jeff.
He is the programming expert.
Well, I don't know about expert, but I mean, I'm pretty good with these anytones.
So, but the point is that none of us are really expert at programming every radio. But we have a membership roster of over 700 members with over 1,100 tactical unit numbers assigned. And out of that, somebody probably already has the radio that you just purchased and can help you program that radio. And the best way to find that someone is probably the Facebook page. And the second best way is to call out on the air with the other radio that's already programmed. And if it's your first radio and you're still trying to figure things out, first radio stuff is kind of hard. So, and a common scenario that comes up, and Julie talked about this, Tim McDonough 22 made mention of this some time ago, that when he first got a radio, he was just messing around with it and tuning through the frequencies that it would pick up, and he found North Georgia GMRS. And I think that same scenario plays out again and again and again and again. You get a radio, you don't really know much about it, but you hear these people talking on Thursday night, and what is all this about, and how do I find out more? That's challenging, because if you don't know about CTCSS or DCS tones or PL tones or offsets, any of that, it can be very, very difficult to know how to program your radio. And the manuals that I've seen are not very easy to understand. So I get it. It's tough when you're brand new. But there again, I think your best tool is to go to our Facebook page and ask questions. And I think for those of you that have been on our Facebook page, you'll see that you get good answers and you get good help. It's not like most of the rest of Facebook, where if you ask a question, you get beat up for it. Somebody once said the best way to find out the right answer on Facebook is to post something intentionally wrong, and all the people will come on and correct you.
If that's not the truth.
So I think that we're a little bit different in this community, and I think that you can trust that you'll get good information on Facebook. Let me break.
Well, I think the other thing to add there, too, with the Facebook thing in mind, is some folks have even uploaded code plugs right there on the Facebook page. So there is the information there. You might be able to just download what you need and dump it right into the radio. No fuss, no muss.
Well, and that's probably a good kickoff point for us tonight. What is a code plug?
A code plug is what the radio considers its own file, if you will. The code plug is what the radio receives its data from the computer and then interprets that in its own little computer inside the radio to what we perceive as channels, whether we call them flagship or channel 1 or channel 2. That is just a name that is associated with the frequencies that radio is set to receive and transmit on.
It's a configuration file.
A configuration file.
So those configuration files or code plugs are something that somebody has to manually take the time to build and type in all those frequencies and name all those channels, and in some cases banks or groups, depending on if it's a Kenwood or other manufacturers call their groups different things, but that code plug has to be built and start somewhere.
I think it's basically like a map for how you're going to navigate your radio. So that you're not having to memorize all the individual frequencies. Flagship, for example, being 462.675. Instead of remembering that and having to type it each time, you've got this list, and that's what the code plug stores, right?
That's a good way of thinking of it, yeah.
So you can go up and down as opposed to typing it in like a phone number. I want to throw one more comment in about Facebook. While we use that as a lot as our resource, this week, for those that are on the page already, I posted a link to a Google Doc that you may find helpful if you're just getting into the radio hobby or if you've just gotten a new radio. And that document shares with you what I hope are helpful links for a number of popular radios. And I think it's maybe 15 or 20 that I was able to get together. So that's owner's manuals. That's the model number for the cable. A link where you can buy the manufacturer's original cable, as well as the software that you can use to program it, and then whether or not that radio is compatible with chirp. And so I don't pretend that I can keep up with every radio in the world on our list, but at least the most common ones that are GMRS Part 95 or Part 90 certified, I've made an attempt to get on that list.
Well, now that you've mentioned Part 90 and Part 95, I want to take that one step farther. I've seen some traffic, and we've heard recently of people who have acquired Part 15 radios or amateur radios, and they've taken them in to have the Mars mod done. Sometimes the Mars mod is a physical. Oh, it's time for me to break. Be right back. Sometimes that's a matter of going into the radio and cutting a jumper. Sometimes that's a firmware update. In any case, however you make your radio modified, as soon as you do that, whatever type acceptance it once had is gone.
Gone.
So it's not going to be a Part 90 radio anymore. It's not a Part 95 radio at all. And so the bottom line here is there's a lot of radios to choose from, and just because your radio, particularly your Part 15 radio, may be capable of operating in GMRS frequencies, as soon as I know that you're doing that, or anybody in the admin team knows that you're doing that, we have to put a stop to it. We cannot allow illegal radio traffic on our repeater network. We are responsible for the traffic on this network and where it comes from. And if we know that you're operating illegally, we have to put a stop to it. So I'm not going to go out and ask you what radio you have. I'm not going to police what radio you're operating from. But please don't come on the air and talk about Mars mod or modifying a radio to work in GMRS, because as an administrator of this organization, as soon as I become aware of that, it has to be dealt with. So
it's a great point.
Don't make me aware. I just don't even want to know about it. And so therefore, don't talk about it on the network, and don't talk about it on our Facebook page.
Sums it up pretty well.
All right. So let's go to the top of our list and see what we've got.
All right. Well, we have, let's see, top of the list.
Bunch of in and outs.
Bunch of in and outs, yeah. Atlanta 780, Houston. Atlanta 355, Damon.
Time out there, because we I know that Houston is in and out, but the Atlanta 780 is also an amazing resource. If you can reach out to Houston, Houston has helped an immeasurable number of North Georgia GMRS members in getting their first radio or getting their first radio programmed.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful resource, and he's a wonderful person. And if you can catch Houston on the air or otherwise and connect with him, he's an absolute wonderful resource to make use of in programming your radio. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead and continue.
No worries. No worries. We'll get through these in and outs real quick. Rome 36.
Not if I keep interrupting.
In and out. Gainesville 34, Eric. In and out. And Atlanta 1402, Todd. In and out. And that'll bring us to another helpful member who's helped with a lot of first-time radio buyers. And that's BR549, Uncle Mike, somewhere up around Cherry Log. Let's go to you first and see what you can share with us about your experience programming radios.
Trials and tribulations, a better way to describe it, Mike. Bill Power, and talking about that, I want to thank you for your efforts at helping people find their program. You made a giant leap today. I hope that thing you created winds up in our files section. We don't have to go searching for it every time. And in case you haven't seen it, Mike has compiled a list of radios with their programming guides and with their manuals. A lot of times we don't get a manual, but Right Reverend Mike Beauchamp for doing that for us. Well, I'm sure it could have seemed a simple task to you, but for you it was probably simple to do, but for the rest of us, I'd have to take drunk at least a couple of times to get that document together. Everything I've heard y'all talk about programming tonight is right. They're all kind of different. Sometimes they're hidden behind the Iron Curtain, and you have to jump through hoops in Japan or China, Mozambique, or somewhere to get your hands on the factory software. And Mike has done a lot of that, so it's in your best interest to learn how to program your radio. And the next one you have to program, it's going to be even easier to understand the basics. Let me take a break. A lot of us guys take great pride in knowing how to do it from the faceplate. I ain't one of those. It's like Chinese calculus to me. If I ain't got a programmer, I'm dead in the water. Some of the newer radios, at one time, if you wanted to program your radio with Bluetooth, you had to have a special dongle. Now, if your radio is Bluetooth capable, just turn Bluetooth on your cell phone and activate the Bluetooth app on it, and you communicate with your phone. Pretty simple, without a cable, without a Bluetooth dongle. I want to encourage people to learn how to do that for themselves. Sometimes it's a nightmare, but the more accustomed you are to doing it, the easier you'll find it, and the more complete amateur radio operator you will be. By the way, I heard Mrs. Beauchamp on the show tonight. Good to hear you, Melissa. Back to net control. Thank you, gentlemen.
Can we get it?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, Uncle Mike, you make a number of good points there, and I think the sort of key takeaway is that the real value in programming your radio is to help you get the most out of the radio, whether that be through front panel programming where you're going through the menus on the small screen on the radio itself, or whether you're using the phone Bluetooth app, or whether you're using software. The whole point is, as a radio as a tool, is to make it work best for you. And what works best for you may be a little different from me, maybe a little different from Jeff. And so the code plugs that we were talking about earlier, that is kind of the point, is getting that code plug to be what you need it to be in the area that you're going to be operating. Is that a pretty good summary?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that Mike made mention of is that, he prefers programming using the software.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really care to program from the faceplate, and I get that. But the value of learning how to program your radio, provided it's not a Part 90 radio, the value of learning how to program your radio on the faceplate is that if you're out of town, you're out of state, you're traveling someplace, you can readily plug in repeaters and tones for those local repeaters. And you're probably, if you're not going to be traveling through there regularly, you don't need to keep it. But you can put it in there and have it available for use while you're there.
That's right.
And then, if you choose to save that as a permanent repeater in your memory or in your code plug, then that's fine. But when you're on the go and on the fly, you may not realize what all repeaters are out there. A lot of them are listed in my GMRS, but certainly not all of them.
That's another good point. As far as expanding your skills and your abilities with radio as you get into it. So, well, Uncle Mike, we appreciate you joining the Nets and for your contributions.
Another thing I think we should add to that spreadsheet you got going is whether or not they are Mac friendly. I met with a member yesterday who simply could not program his radio, not for lack of knowledge or willingness to learn, but because all of his products were Macs and the software was not compatible. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, Chromebooks are not a good choice for programming radios. I don't know that there's anything that runs on a Chromebook.
So, I mean, if some of these radio programs are Mac friendly, and that is the only computers you have in the house, that may dictate which radio you purchase in the first place.
That's a great point. So Chirp, one of the more common programming softwares, is available on Mac. I know that much. Let's go ahead and break.
You can go back to your train of thought, but I wanted to mention
I want to mention RT as well, because that's so Chirp is one that's commonly available for members that are listening that are using a Mac, and then RT Systems is another good, reliable computer programming software that, if I remember right, is out of Georgia here. Also available on Mac. I use that one for another radio.
The catch with RT Systems is you have to use their cables. So even if you have the OEM cable that came with the radio, if you choose to use RT Systems software because you have a Mac, you have to use the RT Systems cable with their software.
Okay, good to know.
But that may get you out of a jam. If you only have a Mac, RT Systems may be your get-out-of-jail-free card to get your radio programmed with your Mac so that you can do it yourself.
Yeah. All right, well, Uncle Mike, before we move on, anything else that you want to share? I've already got him marked. Matt can run boot camp in order to run
That
Windows.
is true, but
that's a good point.
That is a good point.
If the drivers are...
Just got settled in Big Easy to turn the live stream on. Thank you for the opportunity. I have been forced to buy art system software recently. Matter of fact, I bought some this week. And the last time I bought their software, which is, and there's an intercompatibility. You can copy and paste whole pages from one piece of their software to the other. But if you just ask them, you have them on the phone, do I have to buy your cable? It used to be like you said that you did, but now they'll tell you if you have a reasonable source, they have everything you need. I don't will a big chip in a cable, but if you have an FTDI cable, a real one, I think you'll find it most of the time you can use theirs. I better shut up now. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for all you do for us. It's just it's an awful fun here. There's lots of valuable information, and you have a plethora of pretty ladies out there to watch on the live stream. Thanks again. This is WRBT 591, DR 549. back to bed.
All right, Uncle Mike. Well, thanks again, and good chatting with you. We're going to go ahead and move on. Next week in the log, we have Atlanta 4-4, Jim incoming. Jim, we've got you in with us tonight. Any questions that you have about programming radios or anything that you want to share about your experience? We'll go to you now.
Well, that's all the time we have for Jim.
All right. All right, Jim, we're going to go ahead and mark you as in and out. Next, that brings us to McDonough 2-2, Tim in Stockbridge. Tim, share with us your experience about either learning how to program radios or how you're doing it today. Be curious to see what we can learn from you.
I don't think anybody's going to be able to learn much from me. I kind of program on the fly. I learned pretty easy on the DB20s and the Anytones. All my handhelds, I just programmed them from the face of the radio using the buttons on the front. It just so happens that tonight I am actually in the process of trying to program a Kenwood 8180 at this very moment, and I did not have the right software for it, so I'm trying to do it in Chirp, and it's fighting me all the way. So I may wind up having to get the Kenwood OEM software from somewhere and to program this radio with. I've got all the information in, but so far it's not letting me write it to the radio. So I'm having my own little struggle right here at the very moment there, Roger.
Well, that's a great segue into a completely different topic we should cover tonight related to programming radios, and that's firmware.
Oh yeah,
firmware, and make sure we're on wideband.
And make sure we're on wideband, because if you update the firmware on some of these Part 90 radios, you can put that radio, lock that radio into a state at which it's no longer wideband capable. So you want to be sure that you do not update the firmware on that radio, and hopefully it hasn't been done already. But that's one thing we want to be careful of with commercial Part 90 radios. Newer radios are going to be narrowband radios, and the manufacturers have made the narrowband functionality of these radios very difficult to overcome. Not impossible, but all commercial bands that are available are narrowband restricted. So the legal opportunities to operate in wideband exist in, let's count all the bands that you can do that in. That would be one GMRS.
Well, amateur analog is still wideband.
Well, okay. It is, but that's not channelized.
No, that's correct.
But in any case, you really, and GMRS radio is the last channelized place where you can operate wideband. And as Jeff points out, in amateur radio, you can do wideband pretty much all over the place, with a few exceptions. But so you want to be careful about firmware on these radios, and the manufacturers have set these radios up. I know Kenwood in particular, that once you update the firmware, it's really difficult to go back, and in some cases you just can't.
Well, and why should members care about the difference? What's the reason that we want them to operate in wideband?
Well, that's a great question. So GMRS radio is one of the last places that you can legally operate in wideband. And so there's a couple of advantages here. The first one is because we have a wider band of the spectrum that we're putting energy in, our audio signal has much, much greater fidelity.
Ah, there we go.
But that's only part of the story. Not only do we have greater fidelity, but let's go back to the first part of that. We're putting more energy into the air. Our signal carries more information. And because there's more energy and more information there, we can get through noise better in wideband than we could in narrowband. So in commercial applications, narrowband radios... Oh, time to break?
Time to break.
Yeah, I should break. I'll be right back. In commercial application, narrowband radios are typically limited in range and power so that they will operate reliably within a particular area. And if that area is smaller than the license owner needs, then all he needs is to buy another license and establish another base and expand his network in that manner. So with GMRS, we kind of have done the same thing. We have established additional bases. All of our bases are repeaters, and they are linked to one another. So we have a massive footprint of coverage from our radios. And because we're wideband, we have much better fidelity. So if you end up with a narrow-banded radio, number one, it won't sound very good. It'll sound tinny and hollow. And number two, if you have a narrowband radio, it may not perform as well as a wideband radio operating under the same circumstances. So
that's right.
If you have performance issues related to your radio and it's narrowband, there's not much we can do about that. That's, you've got to find a way to get out of that radio. So I have a Kenwood Next Edge radio. And it's a narrowband radio. I ran it in a truck for the longest time. People always told me I sounded fine, and I thought I did. But the truth is it doesn't perform as well as it should, and it doesn't sound as good as it should. So I no longer use that radio. I should probably sell it.
Maybe so.
Yeah, but I don't want to sell it to any of you because it would just be the same problem I had.
Yeah, it'd be narrowband on a wideband network.
Yeah. So let's break, and I want to come back and expand on that a little bit.
All right.
Without any empirical evidence, I haven't seen any articles that have established a date. There's no information from the FCC that says on such and such a date and time. But nonetheless, I believe that at some point in time, the FCC is going to want to condense our footprint in the spectrum. And the best way for them to do that is to come in and say, you GMRS and FRS folks, need to compress your use of the spectrum and go to narrowband. And I think that one of the ways that they'll accomplish that is, hopefully, they'll take some of that spectrum away from us, but maybe offer us, hopefully, an additional channel or two. So don't know what exactly that looks like, but I do expect that at some point in time we'll be looking at going narrowband, possibly even very narrowband. So things to think about, and things that make these Part 90 radios worth hanging on to, even if we don't want to use them in this wideband world that we enjoy today.
I think those are all good points, and we'll have to see what the future holds. So just to sort of bring this full circle, how do we get down this rabbit hole of wideband and narrowband? And it goes back to programming your radios. In a number of these models, you have an option. There's a setting in the menu, whether it be in your front panel programmed menu or in the CPS, the computer programming software, so that you can configure that to ensure that you are running it in wideband.
I definitely want to be in wideband.
Yeah.
And it offers better performance from your station and better audio quality from your station as well.
That's a great point. Well, Tim, thank you for that. Let's go ahead and move along in the roster. Next check-in that we had was Cades Cove 80, Eric in Rockwood. Good evening, Eric. Anything that you'd like to share, or any questions that you have about your experience programming radios?
Hey, good evening, Mike, Justin, Kate, Julie, Jeff, everyone else. Let me make a quick correction on Kate's announcement. The contact person will be myself, Kate's code 80, rather than Kate's code 81. That was the only thing that needed to be corrected on that. And as far as programming radios, I don't have a lot of experience doing it myself. Number one, I don't have a computer. I am working on that. I thought I had one in the works. Was kind of misled on that, but neither here or there. I do have a little handheld radio, portable, that I done just what Justin said we should do. Picture of it. Sorry, having mic problems here. I took a picture of it and I posted it on Facebook. And I asked anybody that if they knew how to program it, if they could help me. Luckily, Alabama 11, he had the same radio, and we exchanged phone numbers, and I'm able to program that radio with my phone. I want to go back to BR549. Back when I first got into GMRS, the North Georgia GMRS Network, Uncle Mike stepped up and helped me out a great deal. We'll thank him for that. Let me break. So if you are new into this, just reach out. Ask questions on Facebook. And I keep dropping the repeater, so I'm going to hush. Back to you, next drill. Case COVID.
Well, Eric, good to hear from you tonight. And yeah, you're right. It's one of the things that we talk about a lot as far as the network goes, is that you can always find someone willing to help, whether it be calling out on the air or reaching out and making a post on Facebook or jumping into the comments on Facebook posts that are already out there. So glad to find that Alabama 11 was able to get you some help with that HT and that it's working out well for you. Did hear, just as a side note, did hear you dropping the repeater just a little bit there, so not sure if it's an issue with the station or where you're operating from, but either way, good to have you with us tonight. And we're going to go ahead and move on. We've got Atlanta 1-2. Jay from Calhoun was in and out with us tonight. Chattanooga 171, also Jay, in Tennessee, was in and out tonight. And that'll bring us to Chattanooga 110, Jim in Ringgold. We've got you in the log with us tonight. And curious what you'd like to share with the net regarding radio programming.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have a ton of experience, and really, I wouldn't know anything if I hadn't reached out to Chattanooga 69 and had Ronnie come over and show me how to punch buttons and just get my radios working. And I haven't had enough experience except for that. I can't contribute too much tonight. But thanks a lot for the opportunity.
All right, Jim. Well, that's just quite all right. We're glad to have you with us nonetheless. And yeah, I have heard Ronnie on the air multiple times offering to help folks out with programming their new radios or doing a check once they get it set up. So certainly, good stewards of the network and good members helping each other out. Good to hear from you, Jim. We'll go ahead and move on to Rome 313. Jay was in and out with us tonight. Atlanta 4-2. Andre from Winder was in and out. Next, we heard Toccoa 2-0. Michael in Toccoa in and out with us tonight. And that'll bring us to McDonough 3-6. Chris in Jackson. Chris, we've got you in with us tonight and curious what you'd like to share with the net regarding radio programming.
This is McDonough 36, Chris N. Jackson, WRUD 929. As I've talked to many people on the Facebook page, I am more keen to use Motorola radios. That's what I've been using for years. That's what I know. I don't know a whole lot about anything else, but that's what I've spent most of my time trying to figure out how to program and stuff. And let me break for 1 second. All right. But I just wanted to let everybody know, when it comes to Part 90 radios, Motorola software you do have to create if there's a little bit of an issue with trying to get the programming software depending on the type of radio. You really got to do your homework. You got to figure out what firmware, what code plug, there's all kinds of stuff. But I think they're pretty good radios, just like with ICOM, Kenwood, anything else that's on the Part 90 commercial side. They're terrific radios, just like anything else out there. There is a learning curve. But if you can get past the learning curve, it is like any other radio that you got to program using Chirp or any other programming software, just there are differences in between the programming software. And I'm back. I just wanted to throw that out there. All of my radios are on the wideband entitlement through the CPS software that I use with my radios. So they are compliant with North Georgia GMRS. If anybody has any questions or any comments, concerns, what have you, I am here for anybody that wants to dabble in it or take the next step or whatever the case or issue may be. That's what I know. That's what I do. But great net, great group of people. I love the network. I love everything everybody's doing, and just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks. Y'all have a great night.
Oh, very good. Well, Chris, you, I think, probably represent the far end of the spectrum as far as familiarity with the commercial Part 90 radios, the higher end devices, and so I think you raised some good points about how that differs from a programming standpoint, and the complexities that come with all of those Part 90 radios, frankly, and getting them programmed. One of the Part 90 certification requirements from FCC is that it's not front panel programmable. And so you've got to do everything in software, which just immediately takes the learning curve up 1, 2, 3 notches, whatever it is. And that's true for Kenwood and ICOM, Anytone, and Motorola as well. So great stuff, and thanks for your willingness to help out our members that are looking for a little advice from the Motorola brand. Anything else?
Great radios, but they do have their own. I mean, if you're familiar with them and you know how to work with them and program them, they're great radios. But if you don't, they can be a challenge.
It could be a challenge. It could be expensive.
Yeah. So if you're going to have a Motorola radio, you should also have a guy.
Yeah.
A Motorola guy.
A Motorola guy. So Andrew, if you're listening, I appreciate all you've done for my Motorola radio.
All right. Well, very good. Well, thanks again, Chris. We're going to go ahead and move on in the log. Next, we heard CW33, Tom and Bogart was in and out. Chattanooga 30, Jonathan and Hickson was in and out. Then we heard Gainesville 44, Joe in Cleveland in and out. And that'll bring us to Atlanta 256, Chuck in Dawsonville. We've got you in the log, Chuck. What would you like to share with the net regarding your experience with radio programming?
Well, I don't have much as far as that. I've been to the Cairn School of Programming
and still lacking a bit. But for anybody that needs programming software for different radios and cords, Mark Dunkel at BlueMax49ers.com. Mark will absolutely hook you up and get you the right direction. I've got a bunch of his cables and software, and everything's working good. And I usually do more Kenwoods than anything else. Every one of them's a little bit different. The newer ones, like the Next Edge radios, are a little bit, they got a lot more nuts and bolts behind the scenes. It's fun to play with, especially when you see it on the radio. But other than that, I'm always willing to help somebody out if need be. I think I got one for somebody coming up at the luncheon, and hopefully we can put it in his radio and get him up and going. Other than that, great job, Mike. Absolutely great job. Good to have Jeff and Justin back in there with you, but you're doing absolutely fantastic.
Well, it sounds like we should keep him.
Yeah, I think we should keep him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come here on Thursdays and start the live stream and then take a nap.
As long as you don't snore so loud.
I can mute my mic.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, Chuck. And
yeah, thanks, Chuck.
When you can go to the luncheons and the gatherings and share your knowledge and experience with the radios, those various luncheons throughout our land. There's one in Knoxville. There's one in Chattanooga. There's one in Dahlonega. There's a breakfast in McDonough.
Speaking of that, we forgot to ask Tim.
Oh, we did. Well, I think there's time before the next one. So Tim will send an email when he's ready for us to make that announcement. There's some conditions about the restaurant that they have breakfast at, and that the place is small. So I mean, I don't know that they really want to exclude anybody, but the challenge is if they just make a blanket announcement on Facebook or on the air and 30 people show up, that could be crippling. So, but if they knew in advance that 30 people were going to show up, they could go to the restaurant and say, hey, you might want to bring in an extra server and set us up in this other room because we're bringing 30 people.
That'd be a good turnout.
It'd be a great turnout, but that's his concern is trying to figure out the mechanics of an RSVP type of a scenario so that we don't crash a place and it's like a denial of service attack. Regular customers can't get in because these yahoos showed up.
These radio guys are taking over the dining room.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, you raised some good points there. With BlueMax 49ers is a good source of cables for radios.
Well, while you're on that topic, and we don't want to announce it over the air or put it on Facebook, but for North Georgia GMRS members, we do have a coupon code for BlueMax 49ers.
Oh.
So if you email support, we can share that to our members, but that is for members only, so we're not going to put it on the website or anything like that or announce it over the air, but if you email support, we can share that coupon code with you for BlueMax 49ers if you're in need of some cables.
That's a good way to save a little money.
That's right.
Fantastic.
All right, Chuck, and last thing for you, you mentioned the next get-together. Let's go to you one more time and give us date and time and location of your next Northeast Bunch get-together.
It's going to be this Wednesday coming up, 11 o'clock at Roosters in Dahlonega. And I'm currently back in Georgia. I'm heading to Tennessee on Thursday or Friday so I can attend Gates Cove 80s luncheon in Knoxville on Saturday. So that's Roosters in Dahlonega, 11 o'clock.
All right, very good. Roosters in Dahlonega, 11 o'clock this coming Wednesday. And take your radios and ask for Chuck to help you get them programmed. He'll be there.
Take your appetite, too. Jeff and I were able to show up at one of the Roosters gatherings, and it's a pretty good place to have a meal. And of course, the fellowship is great too. I think we were there. We got there a little bit early. It was really, really cold, and because it was so cold, they let us come in before the actual opening time. So that was really nice of them to do. And then I think it was like 1:30 when I headed out. So I didn't realize I'd been there for so long, but we were all just
It happens.
Engaged with one another, conversations, had a great time. So yeah. I don't think you have to stay that long, but you can.
You can.
And, order a second plate of food, whatever it takes. It's good stuff.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks again, Chuck. We're going to go ahead and move on in the roster. Next, we heard Chattanooga 162, Larry from Chattanooga. We've got you in with us tonight. So we'll go to you. What would you like to share with the net regarding radio programming?
Well, good evening, everybody. I have found out that all the information I need is on the web page, and the tutorials that you post make life much easier on different models of radios. And just listening, let me break. Just listening to what everybody has to say, and sometimes you keep your mouth closed and your ears open, you can learn to do a lot of things. And I really appreciate it. It's a great net, and I appreciate being part of the family.
All right, Larry. Well, I think that's good life advice in general. The more you listen, the more you learn. So appreciate you you joining the net tonight, and thanks for chiming in. Next, we heard Atlanta 551, Shannon from Dawsonville. Shannon, we've got you in the log tonight. What would you like to share with the net regarding your experience or questions that you have on radio programming?
See, everybody likes you better, so we're done.
No.
We got
I'm
fired.
Just new.
We got fired by the public.
I'm the new thing.
We're going to put up a poll.
The public has fired Justin and I, so you're the guy. I'm pretty sure Shannon was in and out.
Okay. All right. Well, Shannon may have, I'm being told, may have been in and out. So we're going to go ahead and mark him as such in the log and move along. We have a couple in and outs next. Atlanta 605, Michael from Cumming, in and out with us tonight. After that was Atlanta 637, Dave in Kennesaw, in and out tonight. Next was Atlanta 250, Dana from Dahlonega, in and out tonight.
We're letting Dana be in and out?
I don't know. Well, we should call on him, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I bet he's still monitoring.
Dana's not allowed. Dana and Chuck are never allowed to be in and out.
That's a good point. All right. Atlanta 250. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I was hoping the winds of March would pass me by, but I'm not so lucky. As far as programming goes, I have an IT system. Just like any tech company you would call, you get your level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is Chuck. And if we can't figure out the problem there, he's the one that actually taught me how to use the Kenwood software. And level 2 is the Karen School of Electronics and Radio. And then lo and behold, I won't mention the top person's name, but I think y'all can figure it out when it involves the Kenwood radio. But that's what I do. I've learned a tremendous amount by watching the videos. Excuse me, I timed out there. By watching the videos that Jeff has put out, listening to instruction, and watching the programming itself when Chuck helped me out. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Ask members for help, and you shall receive. It's a guaranteed thing here at North Georgia GMRS. Back to you guys.
Well, Dana, that is the second time that it's come up tonight, this Karen School of Radio and Electronics. I attempted to graduate, but didn't. I don't know. I haven't made it that far.
Well, maybe one of these days I can get that video done and get you your Kenwood radio back.
That 3180, that TK 3180, I picked up a used Kenwood TK 3180 that the dean of the school is working on making a radio for our YouTube channel. So maybe we'll maybe you can get to that soon.
That would be a good one.
It would be, and actually, that comes with one of the cables from Blue Max 49ers.
That's correct. So it would be a multi-purpose video showing the Blue Max cable in action.
Yep.
And also the Kenwood programming, which each different model of Kenwood requires a different software, but they all pretty much work the same. So if you learn one, you pretty much learned them all.
All right. Very good. Well, we'll look forward to that video. Dana, thanks for chiming in tonight, checking in, and we're going to go ahead and move on the log to Atlanta 403. Bobby, who's at the Vertex and in with us tonight. Bobby.
It's Vortex.
What did I say?
Vertex.
Oh.
That's a standard response.
Vertex, Vortex. Bobby at the Vortex. All right, Bobby, over to you. What would you like to share with the net tonight? I think I've said it that way before.
Vertex, Vortex, tomato. Yeah, I'm over here at Joe's hanging out. We do our nightly thing over here. But yeah, I mostly do the ICOMs, as everybody knows, and unlike Dana, I got 3 levels of programming too, me, and me. But with our CERT group and CERN group, I do so many different radios. There's very few I haven't seen. Motorola's about it. That's it. But the rest of it, I do mostly ICOM stuff and mostly all that's pretty much the same. Jeff knows he's worked on some ICOM stuff. So, but yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, you're right, Bobby. And I took note of your comment on Facebook that we need to get some ICOM radios on that list. So give me a few days, give me some time, and I'll work on getting ICOM on the list. What does that stand for, Justin?
I can only monitor.
I can only monitor. All right, Bobby. We're going to go ahead and move on in the log to, where are we at? Atlanta 943. Jim and Marietta, we've got you checked in with us tonight. If you're still with us, we'll go to you for anything you'd like to share regarding radio programming.
Great to be back with you guys. It's been a while. And so, yeah, I'm pretty new to radio, GMRS. Matter of fact, when I was getting into the radio shop, I went out and got me a TV radio thinking I would call that in that chip. Come to find out that nobody was really using it. Taking a break.
What do you say about a bag of chips?
I went out and purchased a Midland MX-500 for my truck and a D-Tech 50X1 for my base station here at home during the radio match. And went through the process of programming them. And of course, being a guy, I decided to try to use stuff out myself. And because of the both eventually went to Facebook and got a lot of help there. So I'm grateful for everybody who is out there. It's really very easy to help those in need. Very much appreciated. So thank you for all of that. As far as programming, yeah, so I just use the instructions that came from the radio. Wasn't really interested for me because I had a PC and I am a solution software architect for 35 years. So, I figured out the technology and how to do it and was able to get these guys up and running and here I am. As far as, I do have questions or maybe some comments or suggestions, but the things that I struggled with the most were setting up a base station and also setting up, like, what's the best for mobile as well. And for those who are beginners, I know it's daunting to try and understand GMRS, right? If you guys have any resources, and I'm sure there's probably a lot out there, but for people who really want to get into GMRS radio, is there something that is out there that's very intuitive, that understands just how all this stuff fits together? Understanding what radio waves are, and that type of thing. Not anything too complicated, but enough so that people aren't afraid of it. They can step into it. Like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of help out there. I think, but just having some resources and some direction on that would be helpful.
All right, Jim. Well, a lot to cover there. Yeah, you're right, though. Very helpful resources, not only on the Facebook page for us, but on YouTube as well for learning how to program these. And once you do, while they're not all the same, the different programming softwares, if you can get the hang of one, you can pick up usually a couple more.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference once you get the hang of one is the difference in terminology. Like, some manufacturers call them CT, CSS tones. Some call it encode and decode.
Yeah.
It's just a difference in terminology from manufacturer to manufacturer, but all the basic information is still getting into that radio, whether it's the offset, the tones, wideband, narrowband, all that stuff still has to go into that code plug regardless of what brand the radio is. So it's just a matter of terminology at that point.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we've talked about the resources on, the Facebook page. It's a great place to ask questions and get good answers. And we've also talked about some of the resources that are available on our YouTube page. But let's not forget the webpage. And the North Georgia GMRS.org webpage has a number of useful links and guides for on-air operating procedures, step-by-step guide to getting your membership, which that may need some edits now.
Mm.
We'll have to take a look at that. But there's also a guide in there that will take you step-by-step through getting your GMRS license from the FCC, and that can be one of the bigger challenges. Getting your license from the FCC is not a super easy thing to do. In fact, I would say once you've got your license, everything else is downhill.
Really?
The navigating the FCC
ULS
website is, what's an FRN? Why do you need an FRN? And, what all of the various hoops that you have to jump through. You get your FRN number. All right, so now you've got your FRN. And then you apply for your license. So now you've got your application for your license, but you don't have a license yet until you pay for it. And all of these are done in completely separate parts of the web page.
Well, and you can't pay for it when you apply. You have to wait for an email that invites you to pay for it separately. And the whole time you don't have a call sign, so it's frustrating.
It could be streamlined, much like the North Georgia GMRS webpage was recently streamlined.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. So good plug for the website. If you haven't checked it out since Kate and her team gave it a fresh coat of paint, you should endeavor to do that this week.
Definitely should. And we'll have to take a look at that step-by-step guide for your membership. That may need some work.
All right, let's go ahead and break. All right, should we go ahead and run through this, the last string of check-ins? And then do some late check-ins, maybe?
Yeah, let's see if we can find any late chickens.
We had a pretty significant string of in and outs after that, so I'm going to run through those fairly quickly, and then we'll take some late chickens. So at the top of this batch was Atlanta 289, Grady, in and out. Atlanta 454, Steve, in and out. Atlanta 453, Janine, in and out. Atlanta 31, Ron, in and out. Atlanta 305, Atlanta 77, and Chattanooga 53, in and out with us tonight. Atlanta 933, and then Gainesville 76, and Atlanta 455 were all in and out. We also heard Atlanta 557, CW2, and Blue Ridge 64 in and out tonight. We also had Toccoa 33, Atlanta 292, Gainesville 100, and Columbus 11 in and out with us tonight. We also had CW 43, and then Atlanta 49, Atlanta 610, and Atlanta 32 in and out. We also had a couple of YouTube check-ins that I want to acknowledge from the live stream. Cades Cove 81, Renee from Rockwood joining us on the live stream, in and out. And Atlanta 519, Gary from Marietta, also joining us on YouTube on the live stream tonight. I think those are all the check-ins we have, so we should open it back up for late check-ins.
All right, let's do that. Anybody would like to check in to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, or any questions or comments, the floor is open. Net Control, standing by.
This is WRXH 279, Chattanooga 118, checking in.
This is WRKK 629, Chattanooga 84, checking in.
There's Jim.
And WRB 320, checking in and checking out.
I didn't catch that tack call.
This is
There's the call sign for it.
Atlanta 60, Gary in Noonan, WQYU 407, checking in.
This is GA 4658.
I couldn't get that one either. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump in real quick for that last station after ATL 60. If you could try your check-in one more time and maybe speak up a little bit. Wasn't able to pull you through the noise, but want to certainly give you one more opportunity to come through. So let's go back to that station and try your check-in one more time.
This is WRZA 432, ATL 658. McKay, checking in.
That's it. Atlanta 658 McKay. Got you that time. Thank you so much. We'll continue taking any additional late check-ins and leave a long, awkward pause this time.
This is
Atlanta 911.
WRAS 515, Cassandra and Ackworth. Good evening.
What'd you say it was?
911.
911, thank you.
This is WSAS 252, Chat 46, William and Larson, in and out.
I thought he said chat 42.
That would be Diana.
Nope, you're right.
Well, I like breaking long, awkward pauses.
There
This
he
is
is.
Atlanta 810.
810.
WRNQ863, John in Dawsonville. Checking in this evening.
Have I missed anyone on the YouTube side, Jeff?
Just Dwight. Did you get Dwight? No, I think you're good.
I got Dwight.
This is Atlanta 897, WRFE 469, Trey in Loganville.
Y'all say when.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. All right, Net Control will acknowledge the check-ins that we heard, starting with Chattanooga 118. Stuart in East Ridge is in with us tonight. And then we heard Chattanooga 84. Jim in Hickson, also in with us tonight. After that, we had a real rough copy, but was able to get it. That's Rome 10, Zach in Calhoun, in and out tonight. Then we heard Atlanta 60, Gary in Noonan, who's in with us tonight.
That's not what it says.
What says?
What does it say?
What is the name listed for Atlanta 60?
Well, he has self-identified in the YouTube stream as the Angry Hobbit.
That's not self-identified. Justin and I gave him that name a long time ago.
Oh, there it is. Well, the Angry Hobbit is with us tonight. And
don't chicken out. That's his nickname. It's okay.
All right, fair enough. I'm just trying not to get fired. Next, we heard Atlanta 658 McKay in Cumming. Thanks for coming back to us on that. Then we had Atlanta 911 Cassandra in Kennesaw is in with us tonight. Chattanooga 46 William in Rossville in with us tonight. Then we had a YouTube check-in from Dwight, Cades Cove 70. We'll mark you as in and out. And then after, or about midway through the long and awkward silence, we had the Garden Gnome, Atlanta 810, in with us tonight. Or should we update that?
Yeah, we definitely should.
To what a gnome?
What a gnome.
What a gnome. And then last but not least, in that series of check-ins, we had Atlanta at 897, Trey in Loganville, in with us tonight. Do you think that's all the check-ins?
That's all the check-ins we have at this time. So we've got a few that are in. So let's go through
we do
the roster there. And
go ahead.
Looks like Chattanooga 118.
Chattanooga 118, Stuart and Eastridge. Let's go back to you. What would you like to share with the net regarding radio programming tonight?
Well, I need to get in touch with Houston because I need to get this Motorola MT1000 programmed, and I think he's about the only person in the Southeast that can still do it. Otherwise, oh gosh, there's a lot to do about programming. I haven't had too much trouble with it. Actually built a cable because I didn't have one time and I needed it, so I built it instead of spending $30 for it. But yeah, that's about all I have. So back to you, Net.
All right, Stuart. Well, hopefully you and Houston can connect, and you can get some help with that Motorola unit. Thanks for checking in tonight. It's good hearing from you. Next, we'll go to Chattanooga 84, Jim in Hickson. Jim, we've got you in tonight. What would you like to share with the net regarding radio programming?
Well, everybody's shared a lot of good information. I haven't heard the entire net, but I've heard bits and pieces of it. And I do a lot of programming for a lot of people on the GMRS side and on the amateur side. And I've always put my offer out there before. You know, if you need a program, you need some help programming something, let me. I'll be glad to help you. I've got a lot of pieces of software, and I've got a bag of cables, so I may have what you need. I just don't know. I cannot do Motorola. And for Stuart, text me the model of that radio again, and there's a fella over in Trend that does Motorola stuff. He can do some of them, so I'll contact him and see if he can do it. Anyway, good net, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for picking me up. And WRKK 629, I'll be clear. Back to you.
All right, Jim. Well, thanks for checking in tonight and the offer to help Stuart on that Motorola radio. It's what we've talked about all night. Just the helpfulness of our members. Whether you can offer to help directly or you can put somebody in touch with someone who can. It's a great group of guys, great group of folks that can help get it done. Thanks again, Jim. We're going to move on to Rome 10. Zach was in and out. And that'll bring us to, it says, Angry Hobbit. Atlanta 60. We'll go to you now.
I see that smile on Jeff's face. Wipe that grin off there, big boy.
It's good hearing everybody on the air. Y'all are doing an awesome job tonight. And I just wanted to add a few things into the program tonight, if I may. Let me take a break. I know that they have mentioned it before, and I want to mention it again. Our new website is up and running. We've rearranged the furniture a little bit, and I want to acknowledge Miss Cates for her excellent job that she has done on our website. You know, I've gone through multiple websites for this organization from time to time with many different people, and this time I happen to want to just put it right out there. This has been painless, perfect, and with great detail. Kate paid attention to everything that we wanted to do and achieve, and it happened without any issues. And once again, I want to thank her for her hard work, and she had a team behind her helping her as well, and I think it goes without saying thank you. I want to make a comment about programming. I've done a few radios, and I've got a couple things to add. I've never personally gotten involved in reflashing firmware on Kenwood radios. My philosophy has always been, if it's working, leave it alone. Usually firmware upgrades are required when you want to enhance the features of the radio, or you want to take the radio in a different direction, such as trunking, or some sort of intensive commercial application. Sometimes firmware upgrades are required, but for just normal, generic, everyday analog operations, firmware changes aren't necessarily required. And like Justin and Jeff have both brought up, it will invoke certain changes into the radio that are required by the FCC and the manufacturer, and it may take you in a direction you don't want to go. So my advice is, if it ain't broke, don't mess with it. It'll work just fine. And but you know, beware, if you're going to play in that area, you might run into a few different things. I want to bring up the 8180 radio. Let me take a break. I normally don't say a whole lot about what we're doing down here at the shop as far as equipment and selling equipment to our members and stuff, but recently we bought a large cache of 8180s, not the H series. It's just a straight 8180K, 25-watt radio. And in the past, I've run into this. I guess I've probably processed 50 or 60 8180s. It's an excellent radio. It's a preferred radio to use. But I want to ask the question out there, have you ever bought one of these radios and went to program it with the 89D program, and all of a sudden it says on the screen, use SJ180. That's a real showstopper for some folks. Let me break.
What's that mean?
Requires a different software.
This next batch of 8180s that I'm going to release to the members, and we've got a list going. We've got 21 of them to sell, and probably 10 of them are already spoken for. They're all programmed with the SJ180 software. And the SJ180 software, as obtrusive as it sounds and presents itself to be, is a specialty Kenwood programming software used for enhanced features for primarily trunking. It doesn't really affect what we do with it. I've obtained the software, and with all of these radios that I'm going to be passing on to our members, I'm going to include a copy of that software on a thumb drive for each and every one of the recipients. So that way, the radio, of course, will come fully programmed on our network, but if they want to make any changes, they won't get shocked when they attempt to do that with the 89D software and find out something different. Let me break. So all that being said, that's kind of the update. I know that it was touched on. We plan to move back up to the flagship site on Sunday. I hope before that day's over, I will know what we're facing as far as repairs go and how bad the damage is going to be and how costly, and we'll go from there and try and recover. I apologize for the inconvenience of the poor receive. we hope to get that corrected as soon as possible. But great net, guys. Y'all are doing an awesome job. And by the way, Jeff, at some point in time, I'm going to sneak up there with a monster mask on and come blasting through that back door and jump all over you right on the camera live just to see the reaction. I think that would be funny as all get out. Atlanta 60 is clear. Back to net control. WQYU 407.
Very good stuff, Gary. And, well, before we let you slip away, I talked a little bit about wideband versus narrowband, but I think it would be good for the audience to hear your perspectives on the differences between wideband and narrowband and why we want to be wideband. That's one of the biggest hazards if you do update the firmware on your radio, whether it's a Kenwood or a Motorola or any of the commercial radios. You may very well lock that radio into a narrowband situation. And so I'd like for you to talk just a little bit about why we should avoid that.
Okay, that's a good point, Justin. I'll try and do that without getting into the weeds too much. On a technical level, if you're looking at the radio performance on a service monitor, you can see the vast difference in the waveform of the transmission. But basically, we are still gifted with the opportunity to be able to still work in wideband, which is a transmission splatter, so to speak, of a 25 kc wide waveform in the transmission. 20 of that is just carrier, but the extra 5 has to do with audio and PL tone. And it gives you the wideband as it's been used for, golly, probably 50 years. Gives you an excellent fidelity in audio, a good textured audio. When they chose to go to narrowband, that cut that in half. It went from 25 kc wide down to 12.5 kc wide. So you're not occupying the spectrum fully with narrowband as you would be. So the end result is, the first end result to the user that you hear on the end, if you're listening or being discerning with that, is the audio is tinty. It's lost its fidelity and it's tintier in sound. Let me break. Now, on the technical side, where I get a little anxious about this and get concerned on too many narrowband radios coming up on the network, and we hear them out there. I heard several users tonight that I would suspect they're in narrowband. They may not even know it, but you could definitely hear the audio difference. The problem is, our network is still transmitting and will always be transmitting at 25 kc wideband spectrum. But if the user out there is in narrowband, they're receiving in a 12.5 kc wide spectrum, which means half of the spectrum that they have available to be listening to is not available to them because they've narrowed it down. And now they have put themselves in a position where they can begin to encompass interference on either side of their center frequency because they are not occupying that frequency spectrum fully as they should be. So try and do your best to be a good steward of the network and stay in wideband as long as you can. Once the FCC decides, and like you said earlier, Justin, we don't have any paperwork or any announcements or anything, but it just makes sense that one day they're going to say, we're going to move you into narrowband. That's fine, not to worry. Our network is narrowband compliant. Every one of our repeaters is capable of switching over to narrowband at a software click of a box, so it won't be any big deal. Let me break. But if we can try and keep conformity within the network and stay on wideband, the performance of our system will always be much better. We will stay in conformity with the FCC, and we'll all enjoy enriched audio for as long as we can, because trust me, I've been in this business long enough, especially in the commercial world and public safety world, and when they start narrowbanding and they start going down from 12.5 to 6.25 and then getting into digital protocols, people really start complaining because our ears are not tuned to hear that audio difference in the modulation. So let's try and preserve wideband as long as we can and stay with it and keep our network clean. Does that kind of help explain it without getting into woods? Back to net control.
Well, I think that's a great explanation, and some of the more technical aspects of why we should stay in narrowband, and I think that that really kind of amplifies that whole idea. So that's very good stuff. Gary, thank you for coming on tonight and sharing that information with us and some of your knowledge about programming radios. And from my estimation, there's about 11 of those 8180s that are still available. So that'll be a radio that has been bench tested. The spectrum analyzer will look at that radio and see that it's properly tuned, that its center frequency is correct, that its modulation is set correctly, and these will be radios performing at their peak and pre-programmed for North Georgia GMRS repeaters. So wherever you are in the network, these radios will be ready to serve you. And the thumb drive with the software is that's a great bonus. So if you do choose to make changes to that radio, or if we have to change a PL tone at some point, you'll be able to make that change on your radio with that included software. So that's a great deal. So if you're interested in one of those radios, send Gary an email. His email address is really complex, but let's see if we can get it out here. It's Gary@NGGMRS.org. And just send him an email and let him know you're interested in one of those radios. And if you have any other interests in radio equipment, drop him a note. And if he doesn't have it, he might be able to find it. He's pretty resourceful that way. So, all right. With that, let's go ahead and move. Next, we have Atlanta 658, McKay. McKay, do you have any comments for the net tonight? All right, it sounds like McKay may be on a handheld radio and he's not holding the repeater, so we really can't make out really much of anything there. So sorry about that, but hopefully the next time you come on, you'll be in a position where you can reach the repeater a little bit better than that. At this time, let's continue on with Atlanta 911. Cassandra in Ackworth. Cassandra, do you have any comments for the net? And what do you use to program that Kenwood 880 there in your office?
Good evening, everybody. I hope I'm coming in loud and clear. And Justin, that is the funniest comment of the night. Even though I haven't been listening all night, that's got to be the funniest comment, and you know why.
I'm pretty sure I said some funnier things earlier, but yeah, I think I know why. So what's funny about that comment is Cassandra is a what's the amateur radio term that they often use for folks that are in radio but don't really know anything? Appliance operator. Is that it?
I think that's it. I think she's talking.
Yeah. You doubled with her.
Oh, no.
Atlanta 911, I believe I doubled with you. Can you come back with that last?
I think what I said was, I moved into this house about 2.5 years ago, and I've had this radio probably about 4 years now. I plug it in, I push a button. If it doesn't work, I make a phone call, and that's about all I do with this.
Doesn't get much easier.
No, it doesn't get much easier. That's the classic appliance operator. Yeah, so good stuff. That radio happens to be, so there's a story behind that radio that Atlanta 911 is using. Once upon a time, quite some time ago, Atlanta 947 became the North Georgia GMRS net controller. And at that time, she was operating the infamous BTEC GMRS V1 radio. And as many of us know, handheld radios can be challenging to operate and be clearly heard consistently. So to combat the washing and noise associated with using a handheld, Gary came by while Julie and I were both at work, and he dropped off a radio with a power supply and an antenna, just ready to go. Just plug it in. And so that was our first net control radio. Since then, Gary has kind of decreed that handheld radios are not fit for net control operators. So we've kind of established a higher standard in radio stations that we expect net control operators to operate from, and we've tried to maintain that standard. But that's what Atlanta 911 is using right now, is that very radio that Julie started off as a net control operator with some years ago. So you've had it for about 4 years, but we've had it for a considerable time, and it was used when we got it. So these radios,
it's had a good life.
These commercial radios stand up for quite a long time, and they perform well even in their age. So good stuff. And glad to have you on tonight. Thank you for checking in. And with that, we're going to move on. Who do we have next?
Next in the log, we had Atlanta 46, William in Rossville.
That's
also
Chattanooga 46.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Chattanooga 46. William in Rossville's in with us tonight. So, William, what comments would you like to share with the net this evening? What did I say?
Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was thinking Roswell. William and Roswell, not Rossville.
Yeah, that's why I even did a double
The whole
take.
thing was just wrong.
I totally screwed that one up.
All right.
He's going to be in and out, I think.
I think we have that authority.
All right, we're going to go ahead and mark William, Chattanooga 46, as in and out tonight. Next, we heard Cades Cove 70 via YouTube as a check-in. Thanks for joining us on a live stream tonight. After that was Atlanta 810. What a guy. Are you changing his name again?
No, he changes his own name.
Oh, okay. Well, what a guy from Dawsonville. John, what comments would you like to share this evening with the net?
Well, first off, I'd like to share that programming radios may not be my forte, but programming Google Sheets could be. So I'm just glad we got What a Guy on the air and was
That's
spoken
not what
out
it says
loud
now.
before somebody caught it there. So that's fantastic. I think all of the points that have been made tonight around programming is it's been an informative net, really. I think the programming that I have done, well, it started off with computer programming and then got into radio programming, and some of these radios can be a real booger to program. So I'm glad that, like many have said, there are Facebook friends and radio friends out there that can help with just about any manufacturer and model radio that you have. So it's a great family that we have here.
Well, it certainly is, and I've heard a lot of people talk about GMRS radio, the difference between GMRS and amateur radio. In amateur radio, you make contacts, and in GMRS radio, you make friends, and I think there's a lot to that. And I remember very well the day that the conversation came about the fact that I was using Google Sheets for logging, and it was just a simple table. There were no formulas. There was nothing. There was no magic. It was just as simple a table as it could be to enter in a person's information as they would check in. And along came this guy I'd never heard of before who said, "Hey, I can make that be really cool for you if you'll just let me." And so I thought, well, let's see what he's got. And the logging functionality that we have now is absolutely magical. All we do when someone checks in, we listen for your TAC number, the region, and the number. And we with a drop-down menu, we select the region, or we can tap in a key or two to get there. And then we enter in the number of your TAC number. And as soon as we do that, the logging spreadsheet that we use goes and looks up from the North Georgia GMRS roster, and it populates everything else, the call sign, the name, the city, all that stuff gets populated for us. So that's why when I say, when you check in, give us your call sign first, because if we miss part of that, it's okay, because it's going to pull up anyway. But what we don't want to miss part of is your TAC number. And if we get the TAC number right, it's going to pull up your call sign, your name, and your city, and that's really all that we want, and that's all that we need. So that's why we want you to start off with your call sign, because if you quick key or if somebody steps on the first part of your call, we might still hear your TAC number when it comes up next. If you give us the TAC number first and you quick key, we probably are not going to get you in the log because we're not sure who you are. Sometimes we recognize a voice or, enough of it that we can get you in anyway. But I just want to say that John has moved the logging function of the net to a whole nother level. And
it makes my job easy.
And that was the first thing he's done. He's done a million things for the network since. And so John is part of the admin team. He is our network engineer, and he is also, I think, a very good friend, and I very much enjoy the time that I'm able to spend with John and Victoria, and even with the boys. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. So, friendships.
Well, I appreciate all the comments there, and I think it's been fantastic to be able to give the little bit that I know to the network. Justin, the only thing that I did catch tonight is apparently with the 2024 annual reset, you own the net control log now, and so apparently I can only lock the What a Guy cell down to me and you. I can't get rid of you, so it appears you'll have access to change.
I noticed he locked that.
What a dork. If that's what you wish, but Jeff no longer has access to that cell specifically. So anyway, that's all I've got this evening. Great net, guys. Glad I was able to listen towards the end after wrestling this evening.
Fantastic. Oh, I got to press the button.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic stuff, and that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you and a few others. So we'll pick out a time where we can. I'd like to talk about where some of these documents and forms and scripts that we use need to reside, so that the right accesses exist for them. So we'll have that conversation very soon. All right. Thanks again, John. And with that, we're going to move to Atlanta 897. Trey in Loganville. Trey, do you have any comments for the net tonight? Do you have any comments you'd like to make about programming?
Where'd you get 943?
I don't know. Did he delete his comment?
No, it's there. But he was already in the log. He was one of the all static stations. Yeah, he.
Did I already log him though?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll take him out from down here.
67 is. Line 67 is no good.
Okay. Yeah. I've got it over here on mine too. Alright, so nothing there.
All right, let's go ahead and
I'll let you reply to that one, and then
I didn't hear that. What was that?
I couldn't make sense of it, but there was a Roger beep on the end of it.
All right, last station. I don't know if that was Trey or who that was, but it was just not really readable.
Couldn't pull it out of the static.
Yeah, lots of noise in that signal, and just really couldn't make it out. So, Trey, if that was you, do you want to come back with us one more time? Try to speak nice and loud into that microphone, and perhaps you can modulate through the noise.
Justin's camera broke again. It's looking at me.
Yeah, that's why I left it on the log.
Why are all the cameras looking at me? All right. Well, Trey, if that was you, we tried and just weren't able to pull you out, unfortunately. So we're gonna go ahead. We do have you in the log. We're gonna mark you as in and out, and then Net Control will also acknowledge one final check-in from our live stream on YouTube. That is CW45 Rough in, is that Danielsville? Danielsville. Thanks for joining us and tuning in on the live stream tonight. If you are watching and joining us via YouTube, you see in front of you right now the glorious work that Justin was talking about, that he and John over the years have created, that for us as Net Control makes it easy to log these nets. So if you're joining on YouTube, that's what you see on your screen right now before Jeff changes it maybe one more time. All right. Well, I think
we're there.
I think that does it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. We had a total of...
Oh, now you've done
Why
it.
didn't I look it up ahead of time? How many chickens? 66. We had a total of 66 check-ins tonight, including myself. Net Control will now be returning the repeaters to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Thank you for allowing me to serve, for us to serve, as your Net Control this evening. Good night, everyone. This is Mike, Blue Ridge 63, WRWM344.
And Justin, Atlanta 946, WQYR 514.
And my name is Jeff, Atlanta 750, WRMR 367, and this is the end of the net. So we are clear. Good night, everyone.
Good night.